Hello, welcome. I am joined by Kenny Atkinson, new coach of the Cavaliers. How's it going, Coach?
Fantastic. Adjusting to Cleveland and loving it so far. Family's in a great place, and my kids found a great school, so we're in a great place. And obviously, getting to work with the players is so great. You know, we've had great participation in our OTAs. Yeah, things are going great.
I got to ask, you've been in the league for a long time, but this is still a new team, new city. Does the first day of school feeling ever go away when you're coming in? Do you ever does it take a minute to get comfortable in a new environment?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Obviously, new organization, new set of players. So yeah, I think I'm still in the beginning stages and beginning stages of building relationships with the players. Obviously, a new coaching staff, coaches that have come from other programs, coaches that have been here. So getting to know them, and then just organizationally, right? Like it's like, and you're just meeting someone new every day, and but that's fun. Like I always liked the first day of school, like that was kind of cool. Who's going to be in my class? Who's going to be my friend? Who am I going to eat lunch with? So yeah, kind of in that it's a fun stage right now.
Awesome. Obviously you do have some experience with some of the players on this team. You coached Ty in Golden State, you coached Karras and Jared as their head coach. When you're looking at job offers this off season, when you're kind of doing your interview process, how much are you reaching out to those guys as you're considering a role like this of like, hey, what's it like? What would I be signing myself up for coming here?
I would just say in general, like you said, I've been in the league a long time, so even the guys I haven't coached, I have relationships with through a third party or maybe just from being in the league so darn long. So yeah, that's part of it because I think when you're obviously when you're going for a job interview in the NBA as a head coach, they're doing their background information, but you're also doing your background information. So part of that is feedback from players and hey, what do you think of the Cavs program? And that includes not just players that are in the Cavs program, but hey, Draymond, what do you think? What do you think of Cavs? What do you think of their roster? And getting feedback I think is important, and not just having a narrow kind of idea what the job's going to be about. But yeah, that's part of it definitely.
So something that's been really interesting to me as someone who obviously watches this team pretty darn fervently is this roster is pretty much a run back. Almost every single rotation player from last year is back. And I think as fans of the sport, I think sometimes we have a tendency to feel like we quote unquote know what a player is, who a player is, what a player is going to be. Can you speak a little bit to how different contexts, like a new coaching staff or just, a different year-to-year environment can change how a player might play?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've seen it, through the history of the NBA, right? You definitely can make roster changes that changes your, changes your approach. But there's also, coaching changes also brings a different approach, and I think that's part of the reason I'm here. And I'm excited. I've studied this team. I feel like I know it pretty well, but obviously I've coached a bunch of the players. But I'm also an NBA fanatic, kind of like you are, where I've watched a lot of Cavs games over the years. So yeah, I think that's part of the challenge, right? This new approach, this different approach, and like I said, our staff, myself, we really kind of relish this challenge to bring this kind of program to the next step. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned that next step, and I think it's really interesting because you were kind of asked a little bit about expectations and the availability earlier, and like how do you differentiate your goals for the team and your expectations for the team? Because sometimes those are the same things, sometimes it can be a little different. Maybe the goal is the loftier thing, the expectations the minimum. Kind of how do you define those two things and like and how do you communicate that to your staff, to your players, et cetera?
Yeah, first thing I do is ask the players. That was the first part of this process. What's your team expectations? team goals, and I like to hear it from them first, and I definitely like jot that down because everyone, we have like you said, we all have a different a different idea what that looks like, and I like to get that kind of consensus from the players. I also ask the staff the same thing, and we kind of formulate our idea, our team idea. So it's not just the head coach coming in and say, hey, here's our goals, here's our expectations. It's something we're talking about, and that's where the communication is so important. That's where in this league, and probably in professional sports, in general, that feedback is super important. And the message I'm hearing is, hey, coach, we can't skip steps. We're taking this step by step. We want to improve on what we did last year. Obviously that, conference finals, or some of the players said, yes, championship. Everyone had their own thing. And we're going to kind of crowdsource that to like, hey, this is what it looks like for us. But every coach has their I think some dictate that. I think for us, it's going to be more of a community thing. But I've always been, just philosophically, not one to shout on the mountaintops, hey, we're going to do this, or I'm promising this, right? It's all the steps, it's all your processes, and Kobe talks about this all the time. Are our processes in place? Are we doing, kind of winning on the margins in kind of every department across the organization? And that's kind of, how you make the next step, So we're, that's a work in progress right now, obviously with the new coaching staff and trying to push this thing to the next level.
You mentioned kind of talking through players, figuring out what their goals and their expectations are, and something that I find to be an interesting challenge with this team, if for God-forsaken reason I were asked to coach this team, which we don't want. But if that were the case, you mentioned during your availability that you want to use your depth. You want to play 10 guys. Yeah. And how do you kind of balance going deeper into your rotation, also having this very secured top four that are all going to, be, that you might want to play heavy minutes to? Just because, most teams maybe have a top two, you have a top four.
Right. So, and you have to be careful, right? Like the game's going to tell you, we're obviously competitors, we want to win the game. But also my job as a head coach is also to think big picture, right? What is 82 game season? What is it? Are we going to chase this game? We're down 15 or up 15 with
we're
the
only going to be up 15, Coach.
Yeah, but it happens, right? But are we thinking big picture? Because it's also what's best for those top four guys, right? And NBA players, they want to play 48 minutes every game. So these are conversations we're having, before the season. Obviously, those guys are going to play a ton of minutes. But kind of my pact with them is also like, hey, we're going to play you, these minutes, but we want you to be more efficient in these minutes, right? Because maybe we'll play an extra guy or two extra guys this game. So again, getting everybody, the big thing is communicating early with that, getting everybody on the same page, and also getting, for us to be a program where, man, tonight we got two guys out, we got two ways up, we're going to play them 10 minutes a game, and maybe our 11th guy is going to play 22 minutes, and we go in and win the game on the road. Like those are like real program celebrators. Those are things that you can take into the playoffs. What it's the old Phil Jackson thing. We need all. Back then it was 12, right? We need all 12. I always say we pay 18. Like we pay 18. So all of you are gonna have a role, and I think you build better chemistry that way in the long run.
Yeah, that's an awesome answer. You mentioned those kind of cultural organizational wins. I think of Craig Porter winning a game for them, and the
I remember that game. Yeah, I remember that game
last year. Those are the kind of things where I remember we went on post game. We were like, that's a thump your chest as an organization type of game where you go, hey, we're finding helpful players up and down the roster. So,
and that's including our two-way guys, right? Like, man, we got really Amani, we got Luke. We got some ribs. So those guys, can they come in during the year and really give you a boost during the year? Obviously, Jalen's in that bucket too. Those are that's exciting. I really enjoy that part of the business. But there's a responsibility for us, right, to develop those guys so they are, when the moment comes, they're ready.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about pace. Because pace is always kind of a hot topic, especially in the off season.
Yeah.
Every coach talks pace. Every coach talks pace. This team has not been a particularly quick team, especially in the half court the last couple years. They've ranked near the bottom of the league in half court, pace percentage. How do you speed that up? How important is speeding that up, if at all? And what are like some of the tactical things you can do to like get that pace up a little bit in the half court?
It's super important. We all know the statistics, right? Transition possessions are by far, the highest value possessions you can have, right? Points per possession wise, So it's important that we before even attack it, it's getting a buy-in from the players. Okay, here's an area where we have to get better. We tell them the why, including, giving them the analytics on it. And then we obviously have to strategize how we're teaching that on the court, how we're teaching it on the film. It's like multi-layered. And it's also your communication with your best players and your leadership group. Like, man, guys, if we want to take the next step, offensively, we're gonna have to increase our pace. And there are, I don't know how kind of nerdy we want to get. I can definitely give you.
We love to get nerdy.
I can definitely give you the bullet points, right? So that's getting the ball out quicker after a make. That's important. Higher outlets are important. Pass aheads have great like intrinsic value, like in terms of pace of what you do. Pass aheads, pass across, getting it over. Not only the ball handler getting it up quick, but the other four guys. I think that's what people miss. Like, oh man, this guy's got to push it. Yeah, well, if I push it and there are three guys behind me, you're not.
Or they're not ready to get into the set, or yeah.
But we have to convince our players, like, you four guys without it, it's so important, for our transition efficiency. For you guys to run to, and then we got to give them the specific spacing we want. That's another piece of it. I'd say the last piece of it is, when you're talking about increasing your pace, I think we were 13th in causing turnovers last year. Can we get in the top 8 this year? Turnovers to transition. That's the highest value possession you can have. And we got Donovan Mitchell, number 1 in the league in deflections. Darius Garland, number 9. Like, we got guys that can cause turnovers. We obviously got our active bigs. So that's another thing. So, I just gave you my speech to the team in my film session.
That's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, and but the hardest thing is to get their buy-in. Because 82 games, I got to run again. Man, I got to get to the corner. So we're going to celebrate when definitely more on the side of positive reinforcement. So and then you'll see in training camp we'll do some unique breakdowns as far as encouraging all the things I'm talking about.
Well, thanks for nerding out with me, Coach. All
right, that's good to know. We're getting to know each other better.
I think our listeners are going to be super geeked to kind of hear the details, because you don't always get those in the fan seat. Something I do want to kind of before I let you go, I really want to ask you about this, because in your initial press conference after being hired with the team, you spent an inordinate amount of time talking about learning in your last 5-6 years of being an assistant, and I found, just again from my kind of layperson seat, when I hear a coach talk about all the things they learned from their mentors as often as you were, a lot of it's like the guy getting their first coaching job. So I found it to be really noteworthy how much you were really leaning in to what you were learning. Can you speak a little bit about your learning kind of your belief system as a kind of a lifelong learner?
It's great, yeah. So the first thing that happened, my first job, quite honestly, I got fired, and it took me a while to just get over that. Right, that's a shock to the system, and you could look at it two ways. Oh man, I didn't deserve that, but I eventually got to a place that was like, what can I do better? Like, there's obviously things I was not good at, and once I got to that place, it's like, okay, what are the steps? What are my next steps in terms of professional growth? And And yeah, a big part of that was like, man, how can I get with, obviously gonna have to, kind of restart this as an assistant coach, but who around the league can I learn from? And being strategic about, hey, there's a situation like Ty. Ty had so much respect for him, and
so do we.
Yeah, obviously won a championship in Cleveland. Guy's a hell of a coach, and man, can I strategize and get with Ty and learn? And it was, I'll pat myself, it was a brilliant move. Like I go with Ty, we get to the conference finals, I see how he deals with Paul George and Kawhi, and just kind of his, and then Steve too, like Steve, me and Steve had a great relationship, and throughout the years, I was like, man, there's another guy I could learn from, and how do you manage these super talented teams, and it's not just the superstars. It's like, man, when there's so much talent in the building, and I tell you, it's just, and that's why I'm like so much more confident this second time through, because I had those experiences. Now you can't copy them, right? Like. No. There's no copying.
Still gotta be you.
Yeah, I got to be myself. My high school coach, that was the best advice he gave me. He said, "You got to be yourself. Like, just be yourself." But man, I've taken so many things from those two guys, and so thankful. But yeah, it was definitely strategic getting in their worlds and learning. And then it's the coaches, right? But also being around Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Paul George, seeing all the different star personalities, because they're all different, and how to kind of manage through that. And again, I feel like it's going to really help me this second time through. And I'm still going to make mistakes, and I'm still going to have growth opportunity. But I am a continuous learner. I think that's definitely have the humility, like definitely not the smartest person in the room, but I am curious, and I'm going to keep getting better at this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an amazing answer. It is kind of funny. It feels like your journey from you go to guy who won a title for this franchise to a guy who they were going to war with for 4 or 5 years in the finals. Almost felt like you were predestined to land here.
Oh, and I had all the inside information on those battles too. So talking to Ty, what he thought of Golden, what he thought of Steph, and then Steve. They both have tremendous respect for each other. But man, the chess battles, and you guys, this room was around that, but to be
sweating through those battles.
Yeah, and to be privy to that, and that's I ingested. I was like, man, I'm learning from these conversations, and just all. That's why it makes this job so fun. Like at the end of the day, this is a fun job because we're constantly learning. We're constantly around people that. They can help you get better. It's an incredible job. It's like so blessed to be sitting in this seat again.
Yeah, it's better. I always tell my coworkers at my day job, it's better than filing taxes.
Yeah,
Basketball for a living. It's a pretty good gig.
I always tell our assistants sometime when we're in the doldrums, February, it's like, guys, look how we're dressed, right? Like we're in sweats and we got to comply. Oh, this guy's not running back on defense. This guy's like we're helping the best players in the world come together and win basketball games. Like what's better than that?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Great.
Best of luck to you this season.
Great session.
We are, as a fan base, so excited
to
have you on board, and cannot wait to see what's to come, sir.
Let's go.
Thank
All right.
you, sir.
Great to meet you.
Appreciate it.
All right.